Hi, everybody. I'm Donna Norris, Soul Level Intuitive. I want to thank you for coming back to this latest installment in my Awakening Journeys series. This is a series of spotlight talks, which I hope will show everybody out there. And I learn everything. I learn something in every episode myself about how many paths there are to finding your soul's purpose and your real calling, and having the inspiration to follow your own passions. So with that, I would just want to say thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you watching these videos. If you like the content, please hit like and subscribe. I know after today, you're going to love the content because I have a very special person in my life. This is Dr. Lola Scarborough, and she is a person who owned a wonderful yoga studio. She's also got a history in many other things and background in other things that she ran through the studio there. And she also is a Reiki master and a Reiki instructor, and that's where I became a Reiki master. So she's got a lot to share from a unique viewpoint, and I hope you enjoy it. So with that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you, Lola, and let you tell the people a little about yourself.
Hi, Donna. First of all, thank you for having me on your program. It's a real honor to be here, and I hope I share some things that your guests can use. I thought that maybe one of the things we could do before we started was just kind of close our eyes, take a couple deep breaths, ground down, get into a space where our attention is very focused. So let's just close our eyes here for a minute. We'll take 3 long, deep breaths, and we'll inhale in through the nose. As we do, we'll just feel the stomach gently beginning to expand. We don't ever want to push or strain when we're doing breath work. And then whenever it feels right, slowly begin to move that navel back, just letting that breath flow out through the nose or the mouth, whatever feels right. Relaxing from the stresses that may be going on in our lives. Everyone is so busy. Just letting that go so that we can be here now. Let's do 2 more deep breaths. Inhaling in through the nose. Exhaling out. And one more time. Inhaling in. And exhaling. All right. Always remember to take that chance to breathe when you can, because most of us run around holding our breath because we're going so fast so often.
Energy management is such a huge part of just getting through the day on even keel, right?
Yeah, and it helps calm that stress level that our bodies are always under, where we're releasing cortisol. We get nervous, we get stressed, we get frustrated, overwhelmed. So even just stepping back and taking 3 breaths can make a really big difference. So you asked me to share a little bit about myself. So I will go ahead and do that. I'm kind of torn right now between, what do I do? Do I share my story or do I share my credentials? What should I do, Donna? What should I do?
I'll just give your story. I will make sure we cover your credentials before we're finished. Yeah, there's plenty
Okay.
there. Yeah.
So my grandmother, who was one of my primary teachers in energy healing, grabbed my hands when I was 12, and she said, "You've got the hot hands," and she put me right to work. She had been doing energy healing for as long as I could remember. She was into all of the magical, mystical healing, as well as the practical aspects of healing. She knew all different kinds of remedies for low iron, for lots of different illnesses. She was born in Milton, Florida, and her grandmother was a full-blooded Cree Indian. So she learned a lot about herbs from her grandmother, and then seemed to jump a generation. My mother was a healer in her own way, but a hands-on healer she wasn't. But I seemed to have that gift. She recognized it. But what she taught me was so, so simple. You know, with the Reiki, there are a lot of hand positions. Sometimes when I'm doing training, people will get overwhelmed and fearful. They're not going to remember where to put their hands. And I tell everyone it's always the intention. So if you miss a spot, don't worry. the energy's smart enough to know where to go. But she would just put her hand over, and this is what she taught me to do. So let's say someone was having a stomach ache. You'd put your hand right over their navel and you'd begin to move the energy. And she always did it in a circular, never in a counter circular motion. Then you just reach in, pull it up, and throw it out the way. And so that's where it started for me. My mother and my grandmother were both big gardeners. So I had a lot of exposure to fresh foods, fresh herbs. My mother was a big Adele Davis fan, and some people who are older will remember who that was. For a while, she was a big thing in nutrition. So I kind of got that part of it from my mother. So as a part of that journey, I've kind of combined healing with herbal medicine. I've studied traditional Chinese medicine. I'm certified in Ayurveda. I've taken 7 different trips now to India, where I've studied under some additional teachers there. And it's been a part of my practice now for about 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
Astrology, I'm finishing up my certification, hopefully this year, if not early next year. But I have been doing astrology and astrology readings and using it in my coaching business for like the last 12 years. I love astrology. It is just an
You do things
amazing
like,
tool.
like natal charts or life path type charts.
Yes, I do all of those things. Yeah. So the natal charts are a lot of fun. It's always interesting to witness people's astonishment when you show them their chart. And I always spend a lot of time teaching people, what's in the chart and what the different places are and what they mean about the planets.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I keep mine up on my bulletin board. See,
oh, there
I'm
you
all like, I'm
go.
lopsided. My stuff is all on one side.
Which side is it on?
Um, well, for me, it's from noon until 5 o'clock, I guess.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Oh, you've got a great chart, Donna. Well, we'll get on and do a session one time. You can send yours over to me and we'll do a session where I do some reading of your chart for you so people can kind of get a feel for it. It's pretty cool stuff. And I've published a couple of books. My most recent one is Supernatural Health, Supernatural Wellness. And that book is really for people who are just beginning to dip their toes into the holistic world. So it covers a whole plethora of the different kinds of holistic wellness modalities that are out there that when you first start, you don't even know are there. So way back before I opened my studio 17 years ago, I was a technical writer and I was a trainer. And then I worked in a software company as a project manager. So writing has kind of been in my life for a long time. So I've written a couple of books. The first book I wrote was a book about natural breast care, and it was called Fighting for Our Tits. For some people, not like the title. I got
Fighting for
some
our kids.
pushback. Fighting for our tits, and I'm like, well, I don't see that as a dirty word, but there's some people took offense to it. But in any event, that book is loaded with research and lots of different information about simple things that you can do to protect yourself, from breast cancer, which has invaded our society at large. So for me, health and wellness, it is my thing. It has always been my thing. Even when I worked in the corporate world, I was everyone's mystical fairy or, mystical witch or healer or whatever it is people call people like me. So I've been this way all my life, and it's my joy, it's my passion. I can't imagine who I would be if I weren't this.
Yeah. Well, you've been doing energy work since you were a little girl, even
Mm-hmm.
before 12.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you were smaller, is that where things like the egg clearings, and the smudgings and things like that, were you doing those as a child, or was that something that you developed as you got older?
That was something that I learned about as I got older. My
Oh,
daughter's husband is Ecuadorian. So I took a trip to Peru and I was doing egg clearings and things like that before because I've worked with some Hispanic healers and that's really a tradition from that lineage, from the shamanistic tradition. But when I went to Peru, I had it was amazing. I had like 6 or 7 egg clearings and they spit like this stuff all over you and they spit out fire and you get hit with all these wet bushes. I mean, I had the time of my life and I felt amazing. And so I had a psychic that I worked with in Houston. He's not there anymore. So sad to lose him. He moved way away. But when I came back, he didn't know where I was or where I'd been. I mean, we didn't have that kind of a relationship. But when I went in, he was talking to me, and then in the middle of the card reading, he stopped and said, Have you had clearings? I said, Yes, I had like 6 clearings in Peru. He's like, I can feel the energy of all of that. So
Wow.
yeah. So I love it all. And I have seen the work not only change people's lives, but like I told you, in some cases, save people's lives. So when you roll all of these things together, you can kind of open the psyche, you can open the energy field, you can open your heart, um, you can become more confident in who you are. And to me, all of these things move me closer to spirit, to the divine, to God, goddess, whatever you call the one creator who created us all. I feel that presence very strongly, and I feel that it walks with me with every step that I take. And by immersing myself in this way, um, when I was in the corporate world, sometimes it was really hard to hang on to that sense of connection because it's a different place to be. You can do it, but you have to make the space in your life to hold on to the spiritual as well. But now it's 100% for me.
That's so cool. I'm moving into 100% as well. I'm phasing out of my former day job and getting into doing this full time. So I'm really happy about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, you're a beautiful
Nice
person,
not to have to
Donna.
walk between 2 worlds anymore.
Yeah, it really is. And when someone comes to see you, they're actually in a place of receptivity. Like, when I would, I'd approach management and I'd say, can I do some meditation classes here? Can I do, just afterwards at no charge with, well, I don't know. I don't know about that. People don't believe in yoga. I don't believe in meditation. But so it's nice to be in a place where when people come to you, you're actually on the same page, even if they're just beginning their journey, they've opened themselves up to it.
It's great to be with like-minded people, and it's more mainstream now than it was 15 years ago when I first got back into things and took off with what I'm doing.
Yeah,
So it's a lot more mainstream.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's been a big switch with, some of the things that you see on TV now. Um,
Mhm.
and it's been really interesting to witness the rebirth. I mean, America hasn't always been so closed down to these things. There have been times in our culture when we have been more open,
A
but
lot
it's
more.
good to see a rebirth of it happening because it is so desperately needed.
You're right about that. So is that what inspired you when you left the corporate world to do yoga or to do more of your energy work or just kind of all of the above? How did that?
Well, it happened kind of serendipitously. I opened the yoga studio, and the manager that I had at the software company, I had talked to my direct boss and said, Listen, this is what I'm doing. It was supposed to be a retirement dream.
Oh,
We were gonna, yeah, it was gonna be a retirement dream. We were gonna, get the building and make it spectacular and then just slowly build it up. And then when I was 60, I was gonna stop working and then I was gonna do it full time. But the head person found out about it and told me that I had to either sell the building or leave the company because she felt like I was building my business on her back. And I'm like, but look, it's not even open yet. I don't even have one client. So anyhow, the universe kicked my ass out of there with no parachute. And I became a full-time yoga studio and wellness center almost 2 months after I opened it without even meaning to. So I always say that if you won't do it, the universe will do it for you. You'll get a double footful as you go out the plane.
I call it the cosmic 2x4, you know, for the big one of the two. Get me going.
But yeah, that was
But
when the
you got
economy
great.
tanked. Yeah. So it took me a long time to shift over from being someone who had worked all her life, making a salary, having an income, having life insurance, health insurance, all of that, to being completely on my own. And I opened up in League City, and when people found out what I was doing, they're like, "You're doing what? Where?" I'm like, "Yeah, right there."
Yeah.
And I got a lot of naysayers, and it took a while. It took a while to build it. It took a lot of effort and sometimes heartache and heartbreak. Took a lot of financial uh, struggles, but once I committed to doing it, I was 100% into it. Because it's kind of like, you know, if you don't listen to the gentle knocking when the door gets kicked in, you've been told where to go and what to do and trying to flee from it. So, that's what happened. And that's why we already had the idea, but 2 months after we bought it, uh, I was full-time studio worker. So that's how it
And
happened for me.
we would never have known all of that was going on, because you're very good at being present in the moment, and I'm sure the training and all the breath work and all, the modalities, you just use them to go about your day. It was a
Yeah.
real eye opener for me coming in off the street, as they say. And it's like I told you earlier, not really skeptical, just ignorant of to the possibilities. And just been life changing.
Yeah. It's a really magic world. For me, I've always used the breath work and the yoga to take me. I call it the magic carpet ride. Once you've done meditation and breath work long enough, you close your eyes and you'll start getting, or many people will, that pineal gland will start secreting. You start purple bubbles and green bubbles and pink bubbles, and you just feel all this luscious warmth rushing through your body. You feel so alive. But it takes a while to get there, but with effort and, a combination of effort, meaning the discipline, and being able to relax into the moment, meaning you're not feeling like you're wasting your time, which is a big thing for people when they're meditating. You can make that's when you're open to hearing celestial sounds. I do a lot of sound healing for people. Usually when I'm working with people, it's because they have a lot of anxiety, and I've used the bowls to work with people in shrinking tumors, cancer tumors. And I mean, there's x-ray proof that it works. They've used it long in Europe. Europe is a lot more open to this kind of stuff, and they use it regularly there when they're working with cancer patients. But um, the celestial sounds can sound kind of like what you hear when you're doing sound healing, only it's on a whole nother level. And for some
It's hard
people,
to put words to it.
well, yeah, it is. Do you know what I mean? Have you heard the
Yes, a
sounds?
defies description. Yes.
It's so cool. And these are all gifts that you get from meditation, in addition to a stronger nervous system, more patience, which has always been a challenge for me. I'm very impatient. And, I'd rather knock the door down and go through real fast than patiently wait for it to gently open. So
Right.
using yoga and meditation has helped me calm down and become a better version of myself. And for me, not being so impatient and not being so irritable allows me to be more in the now, because I've learned with myself anyway, impatience and irritability, it takes me out of the now. I'm in the past. I'm not in the now. So
Right. Yeah. I tell people when they feel triggered like that to ask yourself, when am I? You know, Like, how old am I?
I'm
How am I?
5 right now.
Where
I'm
am I
5.
really? Where am I really?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
And,
Okay.
my husband, when I met him, and he loves to tell a story. So maybe one day, if you want a guy to come on, Kevin will do that. He's also a Reiki master. He's also trained in yoga and meditation. And he
Oh,
was a part of the studio as well.
mhm.
Did teachers training together and did a lot of workshops together. But when I met him, he was very sick. And so over the years, the changes in his health as a result of using yoga and meditation and Ayurveda is profound. And he can speak to that, in detail, because I think he's still almost shocked. Parkinson's runs in his family, and he was having a lot of the early signs of uh, early onset Parkinson's. And so we've done a lot of work around that. And he was eaten up with candida. We've done a lot of work around that. And he had insomnia. He couldn't sleep for more than like an hour and a half at a time. And on and on. There were other things, but it's just been an amazing gift to witness his return to a much more robust state of health, mentally, physically, emotionally, and of course, spiritually. So,
Yeah, I'd love to have Kevin on. He's a great
yeah,
guy. He's
yeah.
always been healthy since I've known him. I had no idea what
Yeah,
was
he
going on.
it was quite a journey for him. And, at 65, I've had my own series of health challenges. So, like right now, I got COVID and then I got shingles. And after that, it hit my joints. And so I would wake up and I wouldn't even be able to bend my fingers in. So I've been doing Ayurvedic regime that is for arthritis, and my hands look normal again and they bend again. Thank you, God, Spirit.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I've been going to see this really cool acupuncturist. I love acupuncture. I'm not trained in it, but I love it. And he did something I've never had done before. He calls them the hot needle. So he gets this little flame and he takes the needle and he puts it in there and burns it. And then he puts it directly in the knuckles. I'm here to tell you, oh, Lordy. But it
Can you
works
feel
so well. Oh, you can feel it. Oh, yeah.
it?
You're
Ooh.
alive.
Normally,
But,
when I get acupuncture, I can't feel the needles going into the skin. So,
well, this is a hot needle.
I
Um,
would, yeah, be different.
Yeah, so it's different, but I can feel the needles. Like if they get it over a meridian where the
Hmm.
meridian is really blocked and the energy's not flowing and they put it in, I can almost in my inner ear hear like a pop and I'll feel the needle. Um, but most of the time I don't. But yeah, with the hot needle, which I've never had before, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Pretty painful, but pretty cool. But it helps, and there are no drugs involved. I mean, other than the Ayurvedic herbal supplements that I'm taking.
Right. But, and you got your hands back. You got your
Oh, I
movement
got my
back.
hands back. I gotta have my hands.
That was worth it. Yeah, definitely worth it. Wow. So is I know you do fertility coaching for people too, for couples who need it or want it. Is that using the Ayurvedic? It is.
It absolutely is. So it's using Ayurveda. It's also using, some clearing and connection techniques. I also do a Reiki's session for couples to kind of clear. And I've seen just beautiful things happen with that. I do a couples Reiki session. And so that's typically how I start when I'm working with people that are having
Mhm.
issues with fertility. Then we look at diet. And of course, there are herbal supplements that you can use to work with that. Now, when people are using medications to enhance their fertility, and it's typically the female that's using the medication. I can't really use herbals in that instance, but there are lots of other things that I can do with the husband to really beef up the strength of the sperm and its motility. I mean, these things, Ayurveda is 5,000 years old. There's nothing Ayurveda hasn't encountered. It's an amazing system.
Incredible. So that really helps people. And I assume this also comes into the, the holistically managing pain. You do pain management from a holistic standpoint too, not just physical pain, but emotional pain. Am I right? And
Yeah,
is that
yes,
part of the same system?
it
I
is.
mean, this is a
Sorry, I have
lot.
this little gnat flying around.
No,
So
I can't
I'm
stand it.
not
It's
really
okay.
weirding out here. It's just not leaving me alone. But
Life in the
yeah,
country. Yeah.
yes. Yeah. So with pain management, of course, the belief is not always, is never 100%, nothing ever is, but more times than not, where there is pain, there's some kind of a block. There's some kind of an energy block. And that pain actually starts in the emotional body before it ever filters down into the physical body. So what pain is the body letting you know that there's something in the emotions that haven't been taken care of. So for example, rheumatoid arthritis, which you see a lot of these days, is associated with some sort of a big issue that happened in the family, like maybe the death of a child or the death of a parent or a divorce. A cancer is also associated with it as well. Um, so what happens is that it doesn't get solved at the emotional level. So it comes up in the physical level. So you're forced to take care of yourself in some way or the other. And so one of the things that I found when I'm doing energy healing, um, people will sometimes, and again, every session is different every time you come in, and every person is different. But a lot of people will begin to see images floating up, and they'll see things coming up and moving through their minds, and they'll feel maybe intense heat or discomfort at a certain place of their body. And that's where they're holding emotional tension that oftentimes will turn into a real physical illness because it has not been released and it's screaming, please let me out. And you can see profound changes. I work with a woman now. She was one of the teachers that was in the Santa Fe shootings in Texas, and she was shot through the
Mm.
hips. So it didn't hit her spine. She was fortunate. But the PTSD was just absolutely uh, crazy. And she'd been going to do talk therapy for a while, and talk therapy is good. It's always good to talk it out too. But there's something about Reiki that releases the deeper aspects of the emotional wound that talk therapy just can't seem to get to. And she told me after our first session, and I think she put a review out on my out on uh, Google, that the Reiki session had done more for releasing that than all of the talk therapy she'd been doing for almost 2 years. So it's powerful. And I think you combine the best of the Western with the best of the Eastern, and then being self-informed, doing what you're doing, getting extra training, reaching out, looking further afield, but also being aware there's snake oil out there and that there are people who will blow smoke up your ass and take your money and run without giving you anything real in return. So,
So I know from my own personal experience that when you work with Lola, you're getting the real deal. It's very intensive, very thorough. I mean, we spent the whole summer together, the summer of 2015, studying and working through everything from basic to advanced concepts. And it was a whole new world for me. And I know you know this, but I'm just going to tell the viewers, I've had more than one near death experience, and there was one in particular, two in particular, that stuck with me and would cause recurring dreams and bad dreams. And after I started, by the time I finished studying with you and became a Reiki master, I've had no more bad dreams in
that's
almost 2 years.
wonderful.
I've had it. It's like it released whatever it was in all directions of time. But I was in that refinery explosion in 1989, And I would occasionally have, I was put on the explosion investigation team after that. So I knew the faces of all the people,
Mhm.
whether I knew them personally or not. And they would come and visit, I would get dream visits asking me to give messages to people. And, it's like, I didn't feel comfortable going to their family, for 4 years later, 3 years later, 7 years later with messages. But they were
Yeah.
insistent. And then, I had a drowning experience. We have a mutual friend, a photographer named Chris, and we were on a kayak camping trip and up in the hill country of Texas, and rough seas, high winds picked up. I capsized in my kayak and couldn't get out. There was something strapped over the release of the coaming, and I was drowning. And when I came up, I managed, again, one of those angels, one of those guides said, slow down, try one more time. And I was able to get under the thing that was strapped over the top of the coaming and get myself out. But oh my God, did I relive that in my dreams over and over and over. And I had a really hard time getting back in a kayak after that.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if
So
I would have.
now I'm great with it. I'm fine with it. For the last 9 years, it's been fine. Haven't had as much opportunity because I've been doing all the other stuff that I've been up to. But yeah, I'm good with it now. It was like it just left whatever hole it had, whatever blocks were there were released. So,
I tell people that our memories, even from when we don't remember our memories from like when we were very young, it's scribed. It's scribed in our nervous system. The memory is seated there in our nervous system. And so often for so many of us, me included, even with all the work I've done, you don't ever escape being human. That's just a fact. You're human, and experience impact you. Trauma is a part of living in this world for all of us. But doing stuff like yoga, like Reiki, even acupuncture, and help release memories. The first time I did it, it was crazy. Um, I was fighting with eczema for a long time when I was younger, and I just couldn't get it to go away. And so I worked with an acupuncturist for about a year, and that was my first exposure to it. But I felt like I was like floating, and just when the needles came in, I could feel the energy just rushing through my body, and I was getting flashes of things that had happened to me in my past. So we scribe everything that happens to us, good or bad, and probably also indifferent. The indifferent just doesn't come up for us. But yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. It's beautiful work.
it is. Well, I know you've got a new location now. We both met when we were on the Gulf Coast of Texas, and now I've gone to Florida, and you're in Central Texas. So you're in the process, I guess. You've just finished the move. Thank you for taking the time out of unpacking to talk to me.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So, yeah, how are you getting ready to open another shop, perhaps in the near future?
Yes, I won't be opening a yoga studio, but I'm continuing with all of the wellness stuff and also in leading retreats. I had a retreat scheduled for January of this year, but due to the move, I've kind of parked that for right now. But I've led quite a few retreats all over. I've led a couple to India. I've led, of course, a lot of local retreats. Um, I led anyhow, I've got a whole site. It's called Ayurveda Living Resorts, where all of the retreats that I've led and some of the testimonials from my clients are all out there. But I've been
Oh,
leading retreats for about 15, 16 years now. Yeah, it's Ayurveda Living Retreats.com.
.com? Okay.
.com. Yeah.
Everybody, I'll put that in the description so you can go and look it up. I don't
Thank
want
you,
you to take
Donna.
away. Yeah, I'll get that in there too.
But
I
I'm
have
going
a
to
lot of
be,
contacts for Lola that I'll be putting in there for
I
you.
know, I
Because
know,
a
I'm kind
lot
of
of what you
all
do,
over
you
the
can do
place.
on Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the things I do on Zoom, I do Ayurveda consultations, fertility consultations, life coaching, yoga and meditation. I've had a lot of demand from people who feel like they're going through an awakening. where they're not sure if they're having a medical issue or if it's actually Kundalini rising or if they're having a mental breakdown. So I've worked with a lot of people on that level, and there are ways to tell the difference of what is happening to you, and you should always, of course, seek medical help if you feel like you're in a situation where you're in danger. But yeah, I've talked to and worked through a lot of these things with people over the past, because they, type in Kundalini and here I come. Um, I pop up on the Google website. So yeah, retreats, I write books, I love people, I heal them and they heal me. Because, the beautiful thing about being a healer is you can't lay hands on someone with an open heart and not heal some of your own wounds. It's simply impossible.
Now, I know from past experience and from studying with you that you use crystals in a lot of what you do. So do you still have crystals built into all these modalities? And is that part of your healing, that you feel called to a certain stone to incorporate that into a healing?
Well, I do work with crystals a lot. When I'm doing clearing things, I work with different crystals, jet, selenite, all of the big heavy lifters. And I usually use those when I'm working in cord cutting ceremonies. So I use
Okay.
crystals in the cord cutting ceremonies. I also do a particular crystal healing layout, where when I'm working with people and they want to work with the crystals, there are different levels of service, and some people really enjoy the crystals, and other people you're like, I just want a plain vanilla Reiki healing. I'm like, get on that tape. And I work with the
Those are
chumpy
powerful all
balls.
by themselves. Wow,
They are completely powerful. But I also work with the chumpy balls, which are a shamanistic healing modality where I don't have my stuff with me. It's all still at the studio. We're in the process of moving it, which is why we're not going to really get underway again until January. Um,
There's a
but
picture of them on your website, though, y'all. You
and
can
I
go to
think
the
there's a
website.
video too. Excuse
Yeah.
me. But yeah, I love it
Aren't they
all.
from the Andes? It's
They are
Andean
from the
tradition.
Andes. Yeah, they have a very powerful healing tradition there,
I'm
working
very
with
curious about
herbs
looking
and
at that.
clearings and the chumpy balls. So it's just amazing.
So there's nothing that we can't do at a more accelerated rate if we can incorporate some of these holistic methodologies and modalities into our lives. So I know, again, from personal experience, how beneficial it can be. I hope all of you out there will take a moment and just look into what all Lola does. I mean, she has decades of experience. Would you want to go through your credentials just so that people have the confidence that I do? Because I know you and I've worked with you and I have, all the proof is in the pudding here. So for me, but I know you have lots
Yeah,
and lots of credentials.
absolutely. In terms of formal education, I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Houston in, of all things, political science. And
Oh,
then I
wow.
have a master's and a PhD from a metaphysical university where I studied comparative religion, because it all fascinates me. I'm so open to all of it because it all leads to the same place. And in my heart, it does anyway. I have studied traditional Chinese medicine for many, many years, although I typically work mostly with the Ayurvedic protocols. I'm certified in Ayurveda. I've studied in India. I have a 2-year degree in it. I work with it with clients all the time. I'm a 500-hour ERYT, meaning I'm an expert level yoga teacher. I have been teaching yoga for about 25 years, practicing it for more like 40. So I've been doing,
Wow.
no, that's not true, more like 35 years. I forget how old I am. I'd have to be 7 if I was to, I've been doing it that long. Um, I have been doing healing all of my life in one way or the other. I've studied nutrition intensively, especially nutrition focused on reversing illness and restoring optimum health. Let's see, what else? Like I said, I think I said I was an author. I've studied all different kinds of things with crystals. I lead past life regression retreats. I lead Ayurvedic retreats. I mean, retreats of all kinds. I do all kinds of training, public speaking. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
and astrology.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You lose track. That's just a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. People say,
I
how
think
can
one
you
time,
do all of that? And I'm like, well, I'm 65 and I just keep
well, over
learning
time.
things. Yeah, over time.
Yeah. I enjoy learning too. I love learning. So there's always more. There's always more.
Yes.
It's a big
Yes,
world.
it is.
Yeah, I know. I think I was on a table with you one time, and I don't know if it was just for Reiki or if it was for aura clearing or what it was, an aura clearing thing, but I got a past life. It just, you just brought it right out and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
they'll
it
show
all
yours.
felt so vivid to me. It's
Hmm.
like I was there as you saw it. I was there.
Hmm.
Incredible.
It is incredible. It's a magical universe. When we're open to it, there is magic all around us.
So much more than just what we see in the 3D realm here that we wander around in the day to day.
Yep, for
Tune
sure.
into it. It's there too. You can have that surround you as well. So I think you were talking earlier about talking to the fairies since you were little. I have the same experience. And when I left Texas, I put a totem in my what I call my fairy garden where they hang out. It was in my front yard down by the water. And whoever wanted to come with me could jump on the totem and I would bring them here. So now it's in the backyard here next to the water feature. So they're still near water, and everybody's happy. Some of the fairies,
Yay.
some of them are here, so it's great. Yeah. Nobody feels
Yeah,
left
they're
out.
real. You can
They
see
are.
them when you have the eyes to see them. But, the truth about all of us is we can't see what we don't know about our belief. It'll just go right past us without us even noticing it.
But all you have to do is open up to it. I remember the first time I saw one, I was driving down the road and I had to pull over because I thought there was this golden bug in my car and I couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah, they're
You
there.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like the angels. I mean, I tell people, call on the angels. They're not nearly busy enough these days. They're all like, call on me. No one's
Yeah.
calling on me. Bring them in, call them in, call in the
And we
divine,
have, yeah, and spirit guides and animal guides, they're all there.
they're all there.
So, well, I just again want to thank you. And if people please check Lola's site. I know there's AyurvedaLivingRetreats.com. There's also thehealthhut.com. I'll put this on there. You can check into some of what she has to offer. I hope you'll reach out and stay tuned. Maybe I'll have her come back and we can do astrology together on the channel. That'd be
Oh,
really
that would
fun.
be so fun.
Yeah, that would be great. So thank you again for coming. It's been a pleasure talking to you again. I miss you. Miss seeing
All
you.
right. Love you, Donna.
Love you back. All right.
Bye
Bye for
bye.
now.